In the past 8 months, we've watched the President of the United States fire government officials for reporting economic data he didn't like, deploy masked federal agents who refuse to identify themselves, and systematically purge anyone who might investigate his corruption. We've watched his family rake in billions from foreign governments, while he threatens to revoke broadcast licenses from news networks that criticize him. This isn't some dystopian fiction about what authoritarianism might look like in America. This is authoritarianism in America. And Democrats are about to vote to fund it. So the question isn't whether Trump is corrupting our government. The question is whether we're going to pay for it. So he has already said this.
So I would have much more respect for Pritzker if he'd call me up and say, I have a problem. Can you help me fix it? I would be so happy to do it. I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it isn't.
Right there. He's just making up some pretext. The America's in danger, and he has the right to do anything he wants. He's the one saying this. It's clearly untrue, but that's what he thinks. So first thing, corruption and self-dealing. Trump family has already invested in crypto, and they started their own coins while using political power to funnel these investments. He's made $5 billion in the last couple weeks. Should the president really be making money off the American people while he cuts Medicaid and Medicare for 11 million people? What else did he do? Accepted a gift from Qatar. And this idiot is always talking about Article 2, and he has all these extra powers. You can't just accept this gift from Qatar. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 of the Constitution prohibits any U.S. official, including the president, from accepting these types of gifts without congressional approval, which he clearly didn't get. Basically, what's happening is he accepted a $400 million jet, said, "Oh, whatever, who's not going to accept this? The president of the United States. That's not who's supposed to accept it." Then they're going to spend $1 billion to outfit it for Trump's vanity. And guess where it's going afterward? It's not going to stay with the American people. It's going to go to his library. Now, how a jet ends up in a library is beyond me. So he's just keeping that. Not to mention the Saudis, Qataris, Emirates made billions in investments in Trump's family businesses, like directly. Nothing to do with Make America Great Again. It's to make Trump great and rich again. They're building golf courses in India, Vietnam, Qatar to, basically curry favor. This isn't how a president's supposed to run. Now his net worth has doubled to $5 billion in the past year. I guess it pays to be the king. So most recently, he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics for job data that he didn't like. Let's take a look at that.
Why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics? Because I think her numbers were wrong. Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala. And she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected.
First off, technically the numbers are always wrong because they do the revisions like they've been doing for decades, and then they tell us what the new numbers are. Sorry, it didn't work, Trump. Your numbers are worse than ever after firing them. He also fired the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency for the Iran strike assessment. He said he completely obliterated everything. That is not true. He also sicked the government on Senator Adam Schiff for mortgage fraud. He's also doing the same thing with the Fed board, trying to fire somebody for, mortgage fraud allegations. He's sicked the government on General Tish James. Same nonsense with the mortgage fraud. Then the FBI raided John Bolton's house just because he was a critic of Trump in the past, because he worked for him and saw how much of an idiot he is. Then he threatened to investigate Chris Christie for TV criticism. This isn't how it works. We're supposed to be able to criticize our president. The president is supposed to be afraid of us, not the other way around. He also forced resignations of that idiot Eric Adams, Democratic mayor, so that way he could use him against him. So he basically blackmailed him. They all resigned because they knew it was bullshit. So Trump also has been purging anybody who is disloyal to him, which is basically people who have independent thought. That's why we ended up with a cabinet member full of absolute sycophantic retards. Representative Adam Smith had this to say about President Trump. President Trump's midnight massacre of federal inspectors general from at least a dozen federal agencies, including the Department of Defense, flies directly in the face of his supposed campaign promises to fight fraud, waste, and abuse and make the federal government more effective and efficient. It also sends a clear and chilling message: only loyalty to Trump, not the Constitution or the country that we all serve, matters. That is scary, guys. I mean, come on. Like, he is firing everybody who disagrees with him. And then, has that ever worked for anybody in the business world where he supposedly is such a great businessman? You don't fire all the people with independent thought and then, just have them agree with everything he says. You're gonna fail. We're failing now. We're already failing. We're already there. He hasn't had to purge that many federal prosecutors because a lot of them are quitting. I mean, obviously, he got rid of a lot of them, but a lot of them are quitting because they went to law school. They know what the Constitution says better than he does. He doesn't know shit about the Constitution. Basically, anyone who might stand in the way of corruption, gone. We already know he's deploying the National Guard under pretexts that just don't make any sense. It costs the taxpayers $120 million for his supposed, we're going to save the purse. We're going to cut the budget. We're not going to go to war. Everything Trump said is complete nonsense. He's just going against everything that he did. More masked agents are conducting raids everywhere, refusing to show badge numbers or warrants. Do we really want people in masks running around grabbing people off the street? What if it's, me, you, anybody, one of your family members, your person down the street that you buy stuff from that's been in the country for 10 years? Get real, dude. He threatened to fire Jerome Powell, even though Jerome Powell really knows what he's doing. He knows what his mandate is from Congress: low unemployment and fight inflation. Those are his two jobs. As soon as we reduce reduce the interest rate by 3%, like Trump says, that's only going to cause an economic heart attack, according to Ray Dalio, the genius billionaire investor. I'd rather listen to people like that, not whatever Trump wants to do so he can burn the country down, somehow look good, get his prizes, and then die, and then we all hate him. He's mentioned he wanted to go to heaven. You ain't going to heaven. He also did fire Lisa Cook. I mean, sort of, because they still are working out that in court. That's just another ploy to put somebody in charge, or I mean, like on the board, that will vote for what he says, or just go with him. He threatened to pull broadcast licenses from NBC and ABC. He attacks the press because everybody agrees that what he's doing is wrong, except one outlet, Fox News. They're a little entertaining, but they are just full of shit the whole way. Pardoned all January 6 rioters. He's going to send people into different cities. They're only Democratic cities, by the way, because the Republican cities are actually worse in a lot of ways, as Governor Newsom pointed out. But who cares? Like, if they're not Democrats, he doesn't care if the murder rate is 20 times in any Republican state. You don't pardon rioters at all. Every single one of them should have been in jail. He lied about that. He made it seem like he wouldn't do that. He's just a liar. Fired dozens of Justice Department lawyers who prosecuted him. That's their job, Donald. It's not like they all got together and took a vote. Somebody ordered them to do that because that's how shit works. And finally, the last thing in this shit show, he tried to issue an executive order unilaterally erasing 14th Amendment citizenship guarantee. That's not something you can do. This is a dictatorship. If he claims he can do this, he's claiming he's a dictator. Day one, only a dictator on day one, my ass. But let's get, to the root of the problem. The Democrats have the lowest polling in decades for their approval rating. And let's be frank, I really wouldn't consider myself a pure Democrat. I like to decide for myself, like, what party is right about each individual issue, as we all should, and what they actually stand for as individuals and what their character is. That's how I vote. But the Democrats are polling terribly. I mean, if we look at these numbers, they're just so down. They can't raise any money. The DNC had 15 million versus the RNC's 80 million at the end of June. Like, right now, the Democratic Party is an absolute disaster. They are not standing up for the rest of us that aren't the 30% of MAGAs that will believe anything Trump says. They need to increase their funding. They right now are going to have a huge decision to make whether they are going to defund, not defund, but pause government funding, shut down the government. Honestly, that's kind of where I'm leaning, like what they should actually do, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a political strategist. So back in March, I mean, Chuck Schumer, he's weak. We got to find somebody else. Decided to fold and not shut down the government when all that Doge shit was happening and hitting the fan. They really don't have a strategy. There's no real preparation for fights. Shout out to Gavin Newsom, who's actually doing something. I'd love that Meg is like, oh, he's copying us. He's copying Trump. Really, he's just mocking them. Maybe you don't know the difference. Hakeem Jeffries, Schumer, they haven't distinguished themselves to win any arguments. They have had 6, 7, now what, 8 months now to come up with a plan. Still nothing. And right now, Democrats have a huge coordination problem. I mean, every institution that bends the knee just makes it harder for the next one to resist. Again, like Harvard's finally standing up a little bit. We got to stand up for this. Who wants to? I mean, I don't know why they're all a bunch of bitches. Like they have billions of dollars. Tell Trump to go fuck himself. So basically, while all this is going on, Trump is building this massed paramilitary force that's going to roam the streets. Now it's hard to take over a country and become authoritarian if you're unpopular, but it's not impossible. So he's ramping this up real quick. We're already in this, so let's get out of it. Right now, for Democrats, you got to stop funding authoritarianism. I really do think maybe just shut down the government. Don't partner with Republicans who fund a corrupt government. Next, get a fucking message. John Ossoff showed how, corruption is why nursing homes get defunded for tax cuts. They haven't been picking their battles. I mean, obviously, Trump throws so much shit at the wall that it's kind of hard to settle. But the one thing Americans can settle on, we don't want higher prices. We don't really want tariffs. We don't want our medical insurance taken away. Make it universal like all the other countries. We don't want any of this. And for those that don't pay attention, of course, they think they want it, but really they're just morons that would rather stick their head in the sand than actually look at what's going on. We definitely need some new leadership in the Democratic Party. Gavin Newsom, he's a whatever coastal elite. I don't really think that's the best person to run for president, as most people can't relate to him. But there's people out there that would definitely step into that role. And we got to start, Democrats, to stop with the weakness. You got to treat it like the emergency that this is. Project 2025, they laid it all out. They have like 200 out of 350 line items already completed when that wasn't the plan, according to Trump. Lie, 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 get elected, ignore all of his base, ignore everybody because he doesn't really give a shit about you. So if they don't start treating this emergency like it is, they are going to be in bad shape, and so is America. So right now, like Democrats need to choose between keep funding the authoritarian takeover, which is a huge risk because what if it just keeps going too far and then they have no recourse, like, redistricting. Basically, everything Trump said about rigging elections or they were rigged against him, he's going to actively do that, and he's telling the American people he's going to do that. And a lot of people are too stupid to wake up. But hopefully this helps a little bit, guys. So they either need to fund it or shut it down. I mean, if they really shut it down, this is what I would do. Shut it down, send all Democratic congressional leaders out to their districts and to different states, spend all their time talking to the people about real issues that are affecting them. Enough with the woke nonsense. Don't focus on that. Focus on pocketbook issues. Focus on freedom issues, people on the streets. I don't really see how this is that hard to contend with. So this is Lies of the Orange Era. I'm going to keep exposing, what's going on. I read Project 2025. That's what started all this, and I knew they were going to implement it. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.